I think when you buy digital, there's always, at least for me, a little bit of hesitation of like, okay, well, if I buy this now and I delete it, am I gonna get it back? Am I gonna be able to download it again? Is that license still gonna be mine? And I think now, obviously, because it's been around for a while, most of those fears are gone.
There's a lot less flexibility with digital media because it's attached to either the physical system itself or your account.
Very often, people, when trading in their games, will, say enthusiastically that it's like, oh, I have this game and this game on the system, and that doesn't really add tangible value to the thing. Those digital downloads are tied to some account. It's not a licensing that's transferable. It's not an artifact that can be passed from one hand to the other. Yes, you have those things, but now no one else can.
Downloading has no value. They bring in systems and they're like, I have 50 games on this, how much you're gonna give me? Nothing. I'm gonna give you the same price as if you had nothing on it.
Man, remember when video games required a manual? Remember when you couldn't finish that cartridge-based game unless you had the manual because there was a certain bit of information that was only in the manual? That's something that I think is not happening so much in video games these days. The ingenuity involved, or the creativity, involved in developing a game or creating a certain special situation in a game that requires you to think outside of the game itself is sort of waning a little bit. That's not happening as much.
They have like the remake of MGS1 for the GameCube, the Twin Snakes, which is made by Silicon Knights, I believe, which was an Ontario studio in St. Catharines, which is kind of cool. In the game, at one point you're asked to call this character, and Snake asks like, how do I know the number? And the Colonel like breaks the fourth wall by telling you to look at the back of the case.
There's a code that you need to input late game that is only on the back of the box or inside the manual.
I try really hard not to be, an old person who thinks that something was better in the old days, but the one concession I give myself is that with infinite choice, I don't think that young people are being forced to expose themselves to media that they maybe isn't their first choice anymore. When I was growing up, I didn't have cable TV. We had like 5 channels, and I might watch a weird movie or some bad TV show that wasn't necessarily my first choice, but I would get something out of it, or I would discover, things through being forced to be exposed to something that was older or weirder. I think that you become a more well-rounded, interesting, creative person if you're exposed to media that isn't pushed onto you necessarily by people with corporate interests.
It used to be like a 1 gigabyte download was an incredible amount of time and effort, and you could probably pop down to the Best Buy and buy the game before you could finish downloading it at home. So I think broadband accessibility and adoption was a major driver of that.
I have a lot of problems with whenever I buy a new game, it always has to update the software, and it's just like an hour to wait for that. And the most recent thing I played was Zelda Breath of the Wild. It starts up, there's the blue bar, says like software update. The blue bar finishes, then it starts again. And this is blue bar number 2. And then after that, it does it again. There's three blue bars of software updates that I had to wait through. I do miss just putting in a game and then it just starts, like that's it.
We still have developing nations where internet connections might be iffy or not even nationwide. I can go download a game that's 1 gigabyte pretty quickly. If I'm living somewhere where you don't have a good internet connection, pretty impossible to do that. What about the military? If you're in a forward operating base in Afghanistan, internet might not be the best to get a new game. There's parts of the US in the sticks that don't have the best internet. You might be pro digital distribution living in Silicon Valley, maybe not somewhere in West Virginia.
I have a lot of people that still don't have internet. They live in an area that just can't get high-speed internet. It's not fast enough, it cuts out. I live in a valley and there's no signal. Even places that you would think have high-speed internet do not. The road I live on, I take this issue kind of personally because I can't get high-speed internet where I live. My house is on a double yellow line. And so it's not like I'm on a gravel road or a single lane little dirt road out in the country, I've had so many people say that they don't have internet that they need to update their console and things like that, that I actually have a TV set up here. I had this extra space here, had an extra TV. I was like, let's put this up here for people that need to update their console. If they don't have access to high-speed internet, they can update, download their DLC. Some people will bring their Xbox in, set it up, start the update, hand me the controller behind the counter. Hey, I'll be back, I'm going to Walmart.
I honestly still get a lot of customers that don't have solid internet at home. So even selling an Xbox One console, for instance, you actually need the internet initially to set up the system at all. So we'll actually do a lot of setups here in the store for the customers so they can get their system ready to play whenever they get home, instead of being frustrated that they can't set it up at all because they don't have, a good internet connection.
People will call me, they'll be like, is the TV open so I can update? And yeah, it's open, come on down. This has gotten a lot of use in that aspect.